Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we got legends, no DQ title matches, and a tribal court on the 30th anniversary of Raw. My name is Jack Farmer, being joined by the Spar with LaBar champ Justin LaBar and the legendary WWE referee Jimmy Korderas. It's Triple J repping the WWE Raw Wrestling Inc. after party. How you guys doing? Justin, how are you?
I'm good. Been looking forward to the show. I love anniversary shows. I was at Raw 25 5 years ago at the Manhattan Center. I got a bit, I remember the first Raw. I remember, it's been a big, as it is all of us. It's a big part of my life. I mean, I was like the only kid growing up that at school that was okay and happy that it was Monday because Monday Night Raw was coming on that night. So I was looking forward to this. A lot of potential, and certainly there were parts of it that definitely delivered. A lot to talk about, and what a go home show to Rumble it makes.
I kept thinking to myself the whole time watching this episode, like if you could go back in time to different anniversaries and just show them clips, what would I think of like the opening segment and different things? 30 years is insane. Jimmy, though, you know better than all of us. Before we get into the show, how you feeling? Are you excited to talk about the show? Are you feeling good, bad? How you feeling?
No, I'm feeling good talking about the show because, like you said, as far as furthering stuff going into this coming up a Royal Rumble, I thought they did a banger job of getting those stories over. We'll talk more about that as we go along. It's just that, it's 30th anniversary Raw, and I'm expecting superstars in more than just a poker room.
Yeah, they do. That's the poker room quite a bit, don't they?
Yeah.
We'll talk about the poker room in a bit. Everyone who's listening or watching, like, comment, share, subscribe. You know the deal. We got some good ones last week, and I'll talk about those in a second. But first, I want to talk about some news we got. We got two news stories. One, massive. The other one we're starting with. It's John Cena has unlocked a huge gaming achievement for WWE 2K23. WWE has officially revealed the cover star for the upcoming WWE 2K23 video game, which releases on March 17th this year, and it is none other than John Cena, the 16-time world champion, will also be the topic of the game's showcase mode, which will delve deep into his career, stretching as far back as the prototype character that he used during his time in OVW. Jimmy, do wrestlers play the games? Like how into it are the wrestlers?
A lot of them are, especially the ones in that specific age group that don't look at the guys that did the Nintendo thing way back in the day, or the what's the other one? The old
just Taker doesn't play a lot of video games.
No, I don't think you'll see Taker in the back sitting in front with a control stick in his hand. That's for sure. But you may see him with a bottle of Jack or something like that. But I digress. But they're, especially nowadays, you find a lot more of the guys are into the video games, more so than back in the day. The younger guys, yes, back in the day, but the veterans would do. I wouldn't say make fun of them, but there would be some comments thrown around. That's for sure.
Yeah. Do they get all crabby about their ratings? Did you ever hear any of those? Was that anything you overheard
about the ratings for?
Because each wrestler gets their own like rating based on how good they are, and so does anyone ever complain about their rating not being high enough?
Yeah, if they did, I didn't hear it because that stuff just didn't. It didn't matter to me. I wasn't a video game guy. I was a pinball guy.
Yeah. So
find me a pinball machine, I'm all in.
I tell you, no matter what my rating would have been, I would have always said it's too low. Should be higher. Justin, I got to ask you with this game. John Cena, I think, cover star makes sense. Showcase mode of his career makes sense. But is there a party, at least with me, I feel old. No, this feels like a wrap up of a career kind of thing. John Cena still doesn't feel like the old guy to me. I don't know. Maybe I'm just not accepting aging well. How about you?
Yeah, I know what you mean, but I think we have to kind of accept it. I mean, he's he's down to a match a year, and he's in his 40s, and there's nothing else for him to accomplish. Yeah, I mean, I haven't played a pro wrestling video game in probably 12, 13 years, but I know it's still a huge market, and obviously, like Jimmy said, there's a large portion of even today's locker rooms that obviously New Day, Xavier Woods having his channel and a lot of guys and girls take part in that. So it's a big deal. And you know, and even showcase mode. I remember when playing those video games that doing the careers and doing the, you know, those modes are a big deal. You know, same thing when Madden, when you do like a franchise and a career, and so yeah. And then let's not also leave out Bad Bunny apparently is an unlockable character, and if we've all learned about Bad Bunny from WWE or from Issa in the past year, it's a hell of a following he's got, and he's a big deal in mainstream culture, and probably to a good portion of that demo, that piece of the pie that they're aiming for. So, you know, might not be the three of us might not be having any matches on 2K23 anytime soon with each other, but I think from a business and a marketing and licensing, all those, you know, it's a big deal.
Well, I'm going to throw out a bet. I'm going to throw out a little bet to another Wrestling Inc. host. I'm going to bet, I don't even know if he's in the game. I'm going to bet Issa that Logan Paul has a higher rating than Bad Bunny when both of them come out, because Logan Paul is the greatest celebrity guest wrestler in history.
Them's fighting words.
I don't even know if he's in the game, but if he's in the game, I bet it's higher than Bad Bunny. We'll see how that.
I'll top both of them. Pat McAfee would be better rated than both of them.
Well, Pat McAfee is really good too. I'll take that. I'll be okay with that.
Yeah.
We should have a three-way bet. Who's the best rated wrestler in the game? Not wrestler, celebrity guest wrestler.
Oh, there you go.
But someone who's not a celebrity guest. This is the bigger news. This is pull back the curtain. We do the other news first, so we have time for everyone else to get into the chat before we get to the bigger news. And this was really big. Blockbuster wrestling match pitched for Stone Cold Steve Austin. According to Fightful Select, WWE has made Hall of Famer Stone Cold Steve Austin an enormous offer to face undisputed WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns, stating that his camp was approached with the possibility of it happening. Although nothing is set in stone at this time, Austin returned inside a ring at WrestleMania 38 for the first time since 2003, with many believing it was his retirement match. But Austin has since said he's open to returning to the ring, and WWE has reportedly offered Austin another chance to wrestle again, putting him in a position to headline back-to-back WrestleManias in his late 50s. Justin LaBar, there is a lot to unpack with this, and I'm just going to let you run free. Go for it. What are your thoughts?
I mean, this is a huge headline. As you said, courtesy of Fightful, and just for people's reference, it was just about this time last year, maybe a few weeks later into the year, that it was Fightful that first reported that Stone Cold is likely to have a big match at Mania last year. And that really shocked everybody because, you know, from that point, we hadn't seen Austin in a match for, 20 years or whatever it had been. And of course, he ends up having, a great one with Kevin Owens. So first and foremost, I just want to point that out, that I trust Fightful in the reporting that he probably has been offered. Now, what we don't know is did he accept it? That's it. I mean, it's a huge deal. Obviously, the biggest question then becomes, okay, what about The Rock? Because that's been the assumed fantasy booked place that this bloodline stuff's going, right? Is Roman versus The Rock on one of the nights of Mania. I don't know what to make of that. I still have a hard time thinking that WWE has been doing all of this storytelling with the bloodline, knowing for years that it's Mania in LA. I have a hard time believing that all of a sudden Rock's just not doing it, or he was never part of the plan. I have a hard time buying that and believing that. So I don't know. But that also doesn't mean just because they offered Austin, that also doesn't mean that doesn't mean the Rock's out of the picture. Again, Mania is 2 nights. I mean, Roman Reigns has been the best cared for and protected superstar, and I don't know how long. I mean, over 800 days. He has both world titles. He clearly is the guy that's going to continue to carry this flag in the next couple years for the company. So what bigger 2 nights could you have than versus the 2 most maybe iconic guys in Austin one night? I mean, anything really is possible. So I will just leave it at this. I believe that WWE offered a big money deal to Stone Cold Steve Austin. If you watch him on social media, he's in phenomenal shape. So I certainly feel like he's probably capable to do it. Whether or not it happens, whether or not the Rock match with The Rock happens with Roman, I don't know. But I do believe that Austin's very much in the conversation.
Yeah, I would think that he has to he doesn't have to. He can do whatever he wants. But if this is coming out, we're seeing videos of him working out. It feels like he's going to do something at WrestleMania. Jimmy, if The Rock can't do it, right? Because I think that's the second shoe dropping. If Stone Cold's getting the spot, where does The Rock go? If The Rock isn't going to be at WrestleMania, is Stone Cold the next best option?
You can make that argument that Stone Cold is the next best option, or even a John Cena, but there are also some rumors out there that he may be tangling with another current WWE champion, and I won't throw that out there yet because it's not part of this news story. But Stone Cold still is that when you hear that glass break, it just the place goes absolutely banana, and it doesn't matter where they are. He is one of the most over superstars ever in this business. And like you said, Justin, you see the videos, you see him, he's working out. He looks like he's getting ready for something, whether it is a possible showdown with Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. We shall see. We know that Cody looks like he's being positioned to be a top guy as well. So where does that leave him? Or maybe Steve is the guy who helps Cody. I don't know. There's so many possibilities here, but the bottom line is if Steve shows up at WrestleMania, regardless of what he does, there's going to be a big rub to whoever he goes in there with.
And to Jack's posing another question to you, Jimmy, is Stone Cold the next best option if The Rock is not available, or if movie studio insurance says he can't do a match, but he can appear, what have you? I mean, there's a lot of historical symmetry there. I mean, obviously Roman and The Rock there because of family, because of bloodline, duh. But, oh, by the way, Austin's greatest nemesis was The Rock. His last match prior to coming back last year was a Mania match against The Rock, where he lost to The Rock. So there is also something there in going against the head of the table now in Roman Reigns. There's a lot that can be dug up of the archives there, and a lot of promo fodder that can be done there. So it's rich. And then, oh, by the way, we haven't even uttered the words. I know we will here in a second once we get into Raw tonight. We haven't even uttered the names of Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. And where do they fit into all this?
There, like you said, there's so many options. When you talk about who is the next best option, when you talk about past superstars that could go in a match with Roman Reigns and could and deliver, and also be as over or as close to over as The Rock, Stone Cold is the guy. He is. But then again, you got to think about the future, because Stone Cold, and no offense to Steve, because I think Steve can still go, but he's not the future. You like you said, you mentioned a couple of guys already, and I mentioned Cody. There's a few guys that can be that future if they're built in the right way. And this is an opportunity, and WrestleMania is usually that opportunity for the next superstar to get that, jump start.
I find myself being the prisoner of the moment often. I sometimes get worked up in whatever's happening right now. It's just how I am. I feel like this is the greatest single title run I've ever seen. And when I look at how many people, because it's not just how long the reign's been, but Roman Reigns has beaten Hall of Famers, past and present Hall of Famers, former champions. I feel like adding Stone Cold to that list just makes it even more of a legendary thing we've seen. And look, if Cody's going to be the guy to take it, he can do it at SummerSlam. It's fine. We can hold off for a little bit. I'll be okay with that.
Well, or even, you have night after Mania. You have whenever the next Saudi show is, which is usually in April or May. Cody is not going anywhere. And to Jimmy's point, you have to look at the future. You have to look at guys like Cody and Sami and KO. But yeah, to Jack, if you wanted to help cement Roman Reigns' legacy, if the guy beats The Rock and or Stone Cold in a weekend, come on. I wasn't alive for Backlund or Bruno's his multi-year runs. I wasn't alive for it, but it was also a different time, right? It was just the booking, the program, everything was different. I think given what Roman Reigns had to do and the level of competition and the level of programming and what have you, I could agree. I think there's an argument to be made. He has the most impressive world title run ever, and that includes Backlund, Bruno, Hogan, Brett, Stone Cold, Rock, Shawn, Cena. I mean, I really think there's a true argument and a thesis paper that could be written here.
Yeah, I think so. I'd go to fight for that, but we'll see. I don't know. I feel like some people, I guess I wasn't around for Bruno either, and a lot of those other guys, but whatever. I'll still say it anyway. So why not? Before we get into the show, I do want to give a quick thank you to everyone who's in the chat. Baby Ice, Kyle, Adam, Ethan, Steven, NYC Demon Diva in the house, Ethan, Cruz, Christopher, Sheed, Adam Staples, Adam McFarland, Andrew, War Hero 99, Tommy O, Uncle PJ, Mike, and Sam and Daniel and Uncle. Wow, we got a lot of folks in here today. Donald and Rocky. We got a good crew coming through today. And you know what? Last week we asked everyone, like, comment, share, subscribe. It'd be a big deal for us. We'd appreciate it. And the people listened, fellas. They listened and they came through. We got comments on YouTube. Things like Adam Staples saying, love Triple J. We had things like DJ on YouTube saying, awesome show. Triple J, keep up the great job. Cannot wait until next Monday. And Veggie Gamer even said, oh my God, Jack, I now really hope Vince is Uncle Howdy. What have you done? That one in there.
Wow.
But not just that, we got a ton of Apple 5-star reviews, five-star reviews. We got Perez Play saying, ever since the Matt Morgan days, this has been my favorite podcast to listen to. When I can't catch certain wrestling episodes, even when he left, I stuck with Wrestling Inc. due to the great recappers. Road Warrior fan said, love all the hosts. Chirilla88 said, awesome show. Jack Farmer, awesome leader and asking the questions. Love Jimmy since he was a referee and bringing awareness or bringing awesome storylines and good perspective. And Justin LaBar, been following him for a long time from CSR. Really look forward to Monday nights. Great job by all. Keep up the good work. Big fan in Minnesota. And Luis Treese says, my favorite wrestling review podcast, the best podcast to listen to for Raw, SmackDown, and pay-per-views. My favorite is the Raw podcast with Jack, Justin, and Jimmy. Please, we need more Raj. So lots of good stuff,
That's
fellas.
awesome.
I mean, just tons of good things.
Thank you.
And just really means the world to us. Thank you guys for all that. So please
Keep
Yeah,
keep them coming, and let's keep them coming, and let's get some more. There'll be the three of us Saturday night after Royal Rumble, and our premium live event podcasts are always our biggest. I know from numbers and attention. So please, let's get a lot of shout outs on Saturday. Please leave some more reviews between now and Saturday. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. I love shouting out the folks who leave those comments. So definitely do that. We also already got a couple of super chats here. Sheed Black saying, I think Raw was a 10 out of 10 for me tonight. Very high praise. And I'm not going to show my hand before the poker segment, but I do also think that this was a pretty darn good Raw. And then Mike, we'll get to your question here later, but since I don't want you to wait the whole show because it comes near the end, Lashley versus Lesnar at Mania, maybe Hell in a Cell is being pitched there by Mike. So we'll have to see how that turns out. Let's get into the show. Let's talk about this thing. Let's start at the very, very beginning. We got Hulk Hogan coming out with Jimmy Hart. And it was simple. It was all it really needed to be. Basically welcoming us to 30 years of Raw. Jimmy, how did it feel to see the Hulkster again?
It always feels good to see the Hulkster because it brings you back to a time. Hulk is what transitioned that one generation into the next generation of WWF at the time, WWE Superstar, of wrestling fans. You know what I mean? And to see him with Jimmy Hart like he was back in Jimmy's just a ball of energy. He's fantastic, man. I love Jimmy to death. And the Hulkster is just the Hulkster. He was the man. So you got to, yes, I understand that when Raw first debuted on Monday nights, he was not the champion, and we pretty much gone through the Hulkamania era, but Hulkamania was still the biggest thing that had happened to that company. So to start it off with him, because he kicked off this the generation. I'm all for it.
Yeah, Hogan's one of those guys that I know he's had his controversies in the past, but just as a wrestling fan, he is a personal foundation of my fandom as a pro wrestling fan. So I'm always going to pop when I hear his music. Jimmy or Justin, what was your thoughts of seeing Hulkamania running wild to start off Raw XXX?
I mean, yeah, from a business and marketing standpoint, it makes sense. I mean, Hulk is still such a recognizable face and name, that music. So, you kick it off right there at the top of the hour. I get it. And it's also, we've seen they put Hulk into situations in the past at Manias and different things, do some promos, and maybe they get a little off the rails or words get forgotten. So I mean, it was a nice, simple, easy task to do. Like Jimmy said, good to see Jimmy Hart. Hulk's always a funny one for me because obviously he's a flag bearer of a generation in WWE's history. But like Jimmy said, Raw starts in January '93. Hulk's not on a ton of those Raws. He's out of the company by June of that year, and then spends the rest of the '90s on the other show on Monday nights, and then has again a brief stint on Raw when he comes back for a few years. So it's funny. Hogan's so synonymous with WWE, but Raw not so much to me. So I always I just get historical and dig into that. But no, I understand the use of him. I would be remiss if I didn't mention, obviously, Hulk comes with a sense of controversy in these last years. So it was ironically comical that he's out there. There's certainly a portion of the audience is always a little bit vocal of not wanting to see him, and his mic is dying. There, it's live TV, brother.
Yeah.
So there's nothing more other than just, again, comical irony to that. But all in all, I understand using Hulk and putting him out there just to welcome everybody to the show.
Yeah. By the way, special shout out to the poor fellow that had to run out the new mic. I can tell you, as anyone who's ever run sound for something, mic issues are just the most stressful thing in the world. And to have to run out there in front of all those people on live TV next to Hulk Hogan and be like, "Can you switch microphones?" must have not been that guy's favorite part of the day.
He should have just grabbed Jimmy Hart's bullhorn. He could have just the megaphone could have done it.
Because Hulk knew that the sound was going out unless it was just on TV, but it couldn't have been just on TV because, like you said, somebody's running him out a new mic. So in the building, it was quiet as well. So he had to know it, but he didn't put it over.
He didn't sell it.
He did. Yeah. He no-sold it, brother.
Yep. Stellar Justin Lopez says Hogan was only on to build his WrestleMania 9 comeback. I equate him more as a Nitro and a SmackDown guy.
Yeah, from history, that's correct. That is correct.
Yeah.
I do wish they would do some Nitro throwbacks every now and again, but I guess now it's kind of aged out. I don't know if there's a whole lot of people that would really care anymore, but
right.
Yeah, I've always thought they have all the props, they have obviously all the property, the intellectual property they own. I am surprised. It probably is too late now, but I am surprised in the last 10-15 years when they do when they would just randomly decide to do an old school Raw. It didn't line up to a 25th or a 30th anniversary. They just did it as a reason to gimmick the show. I am surprised that they didn't decide to do one night only Nitro and just, if nothing else, especially when they were in that period of transition into PG around 2009 and 2010 when viewership did start to take a dip, just to get a spike some nostalgia interest because you have the rights to do so. I am surprised. I do agree. Now it's been 22 years since Nitro's been on the air, and it was on the air, by the way, on TNT.
Right.
Yeah.
So probably not a thing you're going to do, but I agree. I'm surprised they never pulled that card to play.
Yeah, every now and again I try to remember if I was 16, how old was I? Where was I when I was 16? What was cool 20 years ago? And would I be okay with them doing throwbacks? I probably no one wants to see this old stuff. Where now I'm like, come on, the Attitude Era, man, it's great. So we move forward a little bit here, and I'm just going to kind of bunch together the hype videos. We get the Raw is 30 hype video that we've seen a few times with the song that they played throughout the night, but also we just got clips with the different versions of the old Raw music throughout the night, and different clips of Monday Night Raw and things like that. Jimmy, what was it like going through some of those old seeing those old clips, and this one? And Justin, you're going to get the same question next. What's the first memory you think of when someone says Monday Night Raw?
Wow, that's a tough one. I mean, like looking back at all those different, themes,
Mm-hmm.
Monday night themes, and looking at all those clips, it's amazing. Through the years how it progressed and all the different great moments, and that's what it's about. All these great moments. But when I think back to great moments from Monday Night Raw, I can't help but think of the night Mike Tyson showed up. And it was just an amazing moment. I have a picture. Someone screenshotted a picture of me getting in between him and Shawn Michaels and sent it to me. And I was like, "Is this you?" Because it was obviously the younger, no goatee, a little more up top. Let's put it that way. And I'm thinking to myself, "Yeah, that's me." But look at this moment that I was blessed to be a part of, in the ring with, to witness live and in living color, not just be in the building as a fan. I was a black and white striped shirt fan, standing right there going, "Oh my God, I'm in the ring with Shawn Michaels and Mike Tyson. This is absolutely incredible."
I could only, oh my gosh, that would be such a moment. Justin, how about you? First thing you think of if I say Monday Night Raw, what's the memory you think of?
It's kind of generic, but it goes back to pre-Attitude Era, pre the real glory times. It goes back to the couple years earlier. I think of my childhood of when you say Monday Night Raw, I hear Vince's voice saying Monday Night Raw, and I hear that theme music. I don't think they played it tonight in the different montages, but I hear that theme music that has that saxophone towards the end.
Yeah.
And the saxophone finishes, and then you hear the siren, the woo, 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 woo. And it's not, by no means were those episodes of Raw at the height of great programming. They were not. But again, just the age I was, and it was still the first, 3 or 4 years of Raw in this weekly show on a Monday night. Again, for me, and I'm going to make Jimmy feel old, but for me, again, growing up, and my parents had the TV in the living room. I had to go into their bedroom to use their TV to watch these. Those are memories I'll never forget, because it was like, and this was the one night on a school night I got to stay up and watch, and so when you say Monday Night Raw, I hear Vince's voice, that gravelly voice, and his showmanship, and I hear that music. That's what I think of. And then, yeah, there's a million moments. The Tyson stuff's incredible. For those who weren't watching live in '98, the Tyson-Austin interaction, that made ESPN SportsCenter, which at that time in 1998, WWE was never shown on ESPN, which at the time, ESPN was the benchmark of what is trending and popular in sports, and of course, WWE Sports Entertainment. So all the more reason for the predetermined genre, the predetermined sport, to get featured on SportsCenter in '98. We're talking, home run battles between McGuire and Sosa. We're talking a lot of things going on. It was huge, and so yeah, Jimmy bringing up that point of that memory. That's incredible. It's an incredible piece of history that really etched the credibility to Raw in the history of television.
I mean, it's so interesting. We're all saying that. By the way, yeah, if you weren't around for those times, I don't know if there's an athlete that's at least a combat sports athlete that's been as big as Mike Tyson was during that era since. I mean, there's been some big stars, but like Mike Tyson was like, everyone knew Mike Tyson, who Mike Tyson was and what he was about, and could do a Mike Tyson impression. And like,
and he was the king of pay-per-view.
Yeah.
He was such I don't know. I mean, Conor McGregor was pretty big, but I don't know. I don't know if my mom knows who Conor McGregor is, but my mom knew who Mike Tyson was.
Right.
Everybody
knew who Mike Tyson was.
Yeah. For me, I feel very basic, but it's the beer truck and Stone Cold coming out and spraying everybody down. I loved it. And the swimming in the beer is what made it for me, though. That's the best. That's the very best bit, is trying to swim.
The only thing that I remember about the beer truck episode was afterwards, when we had to do the tear down and clean up.
Oh, I bet that stunk. I bet it wasn't
yeah,
fun.
you don't want to know.
Yeah.
Was it actually beer, Jimmy, or did they gimmick it with something else?
Oh no, that was beer.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you know what? I guess I don't know if it was big enough at the time, but if it wasn't beer, at least in this day and age, everyone would be tweeting it's not beer. Like they, you know, it does. You know, they'd be like, oh, it's water or whatever in the front row. People would be.
No, it was beer.
But let's. Good. Those are the good times. We had some good times tonight, though. Yeah. We had a tribal court happen. Heyman says that Sammy is conspiring against the Bloodline. Heyman presents evidence. Sammy says he's hurt and has no defense. Before Solo can execute Sammy, Jey Uso stops it and shows his own video package. Jey gives a rousing speech, and Roman declares Sammy is not guilty. Sammy is banned from TV until the Rumble, though, where he will get his his true test. And Jey also gives Sammy, and I'm probably going to say this wrong, it's a Ula Fala, I think is what they call those, the things they wear around their neck. But Justin, this was a great segment, but I got to ask you the question that's on everyone's mind. What is Sammy's test at Royal Rumble?
To protect the tribal chief. The entire Rumble match is built around somebody wanting to, go after the tribal chief and Roman Reigns and his titles at Mania. So I assume it's going to be, to stop all, to basically win the Rumble. So he essentially can lay down for Roman Reigns, or to protect, to either him to win the Rumble or to make sure that somebody in the bloodline, Solo or Jimmy or Jay. And it's logical because the Rumble from its origin to the late 80s dates back to it's every man for themselves. So it is just the perfect test to see where does Sammy's loyalty lie. I would go the Rumble match. The other option, of course, is Roman has a title match that night against Kevin Owens, so he could try to task Sammy to be out there and stop Kevin Owens from winning. But I think the Rumble just is a natural. Or maybe it's both. This was a tremendous. This opening segment, I know it ended up going long, which it did affect things later in the show, but this was wonderful television. This drama, this male soap opera drama, this mafiosa type, is wonderful. And then what a touch of creativity to have Jey pop up and be Sammy's defense attorney and get him cleared of all charges for now. It's just the drama is wonderful and so many options of what they could do Saturday at Rumble. I can't wait for the three of us to talk about them and whatever they do. And then, oh, by the way, after Rumble and before we get to Mania, boys, what do we have? We have one more premium live event.
Elimination Chamber.
Jimmy, where's that event being taken place?
In Montreal, Quebec, Canada.
Who's from Montreal?
Oh, wait, let me ask Sami Zayn and some other guy by the name of Kevin Owens, I believe.
This is going to be a fascinating next 2 months.
This is, you said this is great TV. This is just such good. We always talk about long-term storytelling things. And I think the evidence is them being able to pull these clips from months ago to tell different stories and things like that. And maybe it was retroactive. Maybe let's look for stuff and see if there's anything we can pick apart, but it still works. It's still amazing. When Jey saved Sammy, I popped big time. I was like, he saved him, Jey. It was great. I was so excited about it. Jimmy, tell us just your thoughts on this segment. This whole thing is just being done beautifully, I think.
When you talk about close to perfection, this story has been awesome. And you talk about this again, taking a lot of time at the beginning of the show. This is probably one of the longest opening segments we've seen. Yes, we know that the first hour was commercial free, but at the same time, I don't know how long it's been that Raw has gone that long without having an actual match, but nobody's complaining about not getting a match sooner than that because it was such great television. And that little twist, like you said, where Jey comes in to make the save for Sammy and show the video clips, and going back a few months and seeing these little things that they showed, like for example, the brush by when he brushed by, and stuff like that. It's just incredible that somebody is thinking that far ahead and that detailed for the story to continue to go forward. I am looking forward to this story to continue for a little while longer. Obviously, it has to come to a conclusion at some point, and the logical point sounds like WrestleMania, but as Justin alluded to, there is Elimination Chamber in Montreal, which could lead to something bigger happening at WrestleMania with some of the participants in this storyline.
This was just such good stuff. I mean, I can't. They have had me hook, line, and sinker for so long in this thing, and everything they do. I'm watching this. This is just such good TV. Like and if you're one of the people that just reads the results and just reads like what happened, you're missing out, because this has been so good every step of the way. Justin, I have a quick question for you. What is Jey Uso's ceiling? Because I was watching this, just to preface it. He checks every box. I think the only two things that kind of prevent me from saying he could be a world champion is that he's got a twin brother that makes him a perfect tag team champion, and he's got a Roman Reigns in the family.
Yeah. That's a great question. Twins usually bring about their own ceiling for that because they're twins, that they have to remain tandem. But Brie and Nikki Bella kind of defied that. They eventually got to a point where they were able to singularly excel and represent themselves. So I don't think there necessarily is a ceiling for Jey in that respect. I think I agree with Jimmy. Eventually you have to give conclusion and payoff. The movie can't just go 5 hours and just never end. You eventually have to get to a final scene. So I don't know what that is. Is that Sammy ultimately does, defectness with KO? Is it that is the swerve that Sammy is more bloodline than Jey, and Jey gets whacked to use mafia terminology? I don't know, but I think it's a good question. I think there's so many dynamics here that it's possible that there is life beyond Mania where Jey is doing something that doesn't mean he's in a tag team with his brother Jimmy. That I think they have worked hard enough, and the fans have bought into it that is possible. Whether or not that is the best advice decision, we have to see, because there's so many moving parts here. We just talked a minute ago about how crowded this top title picture can be, and maybe it's time to end this bloodline inner turmoil. But I don't think there is a ceiling, and I think that's a tremendous, that speaks volumes to all involved, that you could take Jimmy and Jey Uso, who were a tandem, and they've been they're veterans. They're the longest tenure there, right there alongside Miz, Dolph Ziggler, Kofi Kingston. I mean, they've been around for so long. So to finally evolve their characters and in this storyline to where you could potentially split them up, that's pretty spectacular, all things considered.
Jimmy, a quick question for you too here. There was ECW chants during this opening segment in Philadelphia. As someone who has been in the ring in different cities, as someone who's working, how do you feel when the crowd chants a different brand or something that isn't what you're trying to do? Is it like, hey, you're wrestling fans and you're just kind of chanting at your city, basically? Is it disrespectful? Like, what do you think about fans chanting for different people?
Yeah, see, at first I used to get really bothered by it, especially when I was like when I was there and I was working, and you'd get the ECW chance or whatever, a chance from another organization in the building. And I thought that was, like, how, you're here at our show, you paid money to come to see this company, and you're chanting for another company. I don't get it. But then as you think about it, more logically and don't choose sides, saying that because I'm getting paid by this side of the fence or whatever, you start saying, well, it's good that they're fans of all types of wrestling, because obviously they're a fan of this because they paid to come watch it. So, and especially when WWE actually owns the property as well, it's not such a big deal anymore.
Right. That's true too. Superfan 22 has another question for you, Jimmy. We're going to go ahead and throw that up on the screen here. Jimmy, what is your opinion of the referee helmet camera that was used many years ago? Did you ever wear one?
Fortunately, I never had to wear one, and I'm not a big fan of the helmet cam. It's just just another thing that kind of gets in the way and is a distraction in the ring, I think. in my opinion, because like I always say, the referee is not there to be a distraction. The referee is there to help the talent tell their story without being a distraction. And if you see this guy with this big black helmet with the thing on top, running around, or a gal with, it's just, I don't know. It's a little bit too much. And this is coming from the referee to first use instant replay in a match. So.
So you understand technology, but yeah, I can imagine just having that. Yeah, that seemed like it was very distracting.
Yeah.
But we got to move on with this episode. We've got a lot of stuff to cover here. Yeah. Judgment Day versus the Usos happen. Priest does a lot of the heavy lifting until Finn gets involved and gets sent to the back. Jimmy gets hurt, so Sammy is put into the match. We get a ton of near falls, and the Bloodline retains. Justin, this match had me absolutely glued to my TV. This was probably one of the most I can't turn away matches I've seen on a weekly show in a long, long time.
Yeah, tremendous match, tremendous stories. Obviously, Bloodline and Judgment Day have been crossing paths the last few weeks, so there's history there. I mean, God, Sami Zayn, what an hour of Raw he had. I mean, you really have to go back and look. You really are comparing at this point to Stone Cold and The Rock and your elite Mount Rushmore names that had threads through multi hours of Raw. That's what you're comparing Sami Zayn to right now. Sami Zayn dominated the first hour of Raw on the 30th anniversary. So huge there. The whole thing was entertaining. I also made a note. Every week it's part of the entrance, Rhea leans in and whispers to Rhea whispers to Dom. One day, many years ahead, when the storyline's all past and we get the documentary behind the scenes of one of their careers or Judgment Day or whatever, I can't wait for us to try to find out what Rhea whispers in Dom's ear to try to get him to break and laugh, because that there's a running joke of her trying to say, whether it's overly dirty things or off the wall wacky things or whatever, she is trying to get him to crack, and there's an inside joke there between the two that seem to be working well together as on-screen performers. I can't wait for us to one day find that out. Bookmark this podcast. One day, whether it's somebody else or me, I will get that question answered to one or both of them. We will get to the bottom of it.
You're right, because that's just the way people are. Like, they want to try to get each other to break, and that's why I'd be bad at this, because I would laugh every time probably. But Jimmy, I have a more specific question for you. I wonder, what are your thoughts on referees using the X as a story? Is that, are you okay with that, or does it feel like you're not? Like, what? I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
It's interesting. In this situation, it helped because a lot of the fans know that peek behind the curtain, the fourth wall, that putting up the big X is a symbol that, hey, someone is legitimately hurt. So when he landed, Jimmy did such a great job of selling the knee after the landing that I thought to myself, I said, ooh, and had me thinking. And then when the referee jumped down and flashed the X, I went, usually, when they're doing that, they don't have the camera on the referee. You know what I mean? So that's why I started thinking, hey, maybe this is just an elaborate, and then when they, Adam Pearce came down and all that, that's when I went, oh, okay, here we go. But the one thing I do like though, is that they meshed the story that Judgment Day got into this final, allowing a substitution during the elimination qualifying matches. And, on the flip side, Sami Zayn was allowed to substitute for Jimmy and tag with Jay to complete the match. But again, to your point, using the X, it's kind of like, how sparingly do you use it? They haven't used it in a long time. I remember using it at WrestleMania 23.
Yeah.
With Ric Flair taking that big bump in that the 6-way ladder match and stuff. But, as long as it's one of those things where, depending on the situation, I don't mind it, but don't use it too much.
Jimmy, wasn't there a period of time where the X became so known to the fans, the fourth wall was broken? Like, didn't eventually they have to switch it to just like an arm going up or things like that? I mean, because I seem to remember they overused the X after a while, and fans caught on to that being the secret language.
Right. Yeah. Again, goes back to that. When you use something too often, then fans find here we go again. Here's So there was that edict that, okay, we got to stop doing this because people figured it out. And now that they figured it out. We'll do it so that they know that they think that it's a legit injury. And then you do it too often. It's like, okay, guys, we got to cut this out. It got to be too much. It really did. And especially now because am I giving away a little bit too much again? We always had the IFBs where we could hear somebody talking to us, but now they can talk back. The referees can talk back. So if you want to tell them that somebody's injured, you can actually tell them, hey, so-and-so's injured. They can't go.
The way you said that again, I can't imagine anyone talking back to Vince if he's on there.
Well, he's not there, right?
Yeah. So just talk back to Triple H. Yeah. Whatever. No, but yeah, I was in it. I was literally like, oh no, this is horrible. Not now after everything. But then once Pierce was on the microphone, I was like, okay, this isn't. Because at first I thought even Pierce coming out was like, let's save this. Let's try to do something, whatever. But then once he got on the microphone, I was like, oh, this is right. This is part of it. But it was good. I liked it. Still into it. Still okay with it.
Great episode.
As we move on, I'm going to combine all the poker playing that happened. JBL and Corbin went to a poker game. Godfather wasn't letting them in. Farouk eventually takes the payoff and lets them in. They play the Alpha Academy, DDP, and Medusa. Corbin beats the $1 Million Man, and IRS collects his taxes. Jimmy, I think we've said they rely on the poker room bit a bit too much, a bit too easy. But I don't know. This is a nice way to get a bunch of legends in, right?
It is a nice way to get a bunch of legends in, but there has to be a better way when you're talking 30th anniversary Raw. At least do a segment where you acknowledge them on the stage in front of the audience, where the live audience gets to see them all. And maybe they did do that after the show. I'm pretty sure they probably brought everybody out to let the live crowd, pay their respects. But let's do that for the television crowd as well. I think a lot of people tuned in to see the superstars of the past, the legends and icons. And do a little bit more than, go all in.
Yeah, there is a difference when you're there, when they come out, as opposed to just seeing them on the screen. But yeah, but Justin, they could. I mean, and it's very easy for me to, come up with all these ideas when I don't have to actually produce any of this. But I mean, they could be walking around backstage and bump into each other and things like that, right? I mean, it feels like it's always a poker game.
Well, never mind the poker game. It's to Jimmy's point. I know you're playing to your worldwide audience. I know you're playing to the millions at home. So that is more important than the 16,000, which is a great house these days. I know it's more important, but I kind of agree. And probably it's probably time as nothing else, because again we saw that they really ran tight on time. Things go along, whatever. And of course, when we get to the main event, they were really rushing to get out. So it's probably a time thing. It's control things, do pre-tapes. I get it. From a live standpoint, that is the easier way to go about it. But I agree. I can't. So much of going to a wrestling show, yeah, you want to see the match and what have you, but you want to just hear the music. You want to see the entrance. You want to see the ballyhoo. So I agree. Carve out 5 minutes where you could, just bring out legendary characters and see. Here's the Godfather, and you hear that and here comes the Godfather out doing his stuff. You don't necessarily need the hose. I know 2023, maybe that doesn't age quite as well, but have him out there and hear $1 Million Man's iconic laugh and his music. Here, I agree. There's merit for the live crowd both to experience that, and then again, just for those at home, I would have loved to hear all those theme musics and see them make their entrance and do their poses and do their shticks, and then maybe there's a big gotcha at the end where Mustafa Ali shows up and is mad, or the Miz shows up and is mad that he's not, whatever, and then somebody makes them eat pie or whatever. Like I do think get more of them out in front of the live crowd. I do think it resonates better, but I understand you already have the number of segments they have to do live in the ring. Let's try to do these things that we can tape earlier in the day and get it packaged and trimmed up. I get it. It's live TV, but I think that there's definitely an argument to be made that, man, when you can put them out there in front of the live crowd, play the music, it resonates and hits a whole different nostalgia button. That intro to the Godfather's music is underrated top, I think. That little, so good. We got a quick super chat as well from Terry Allen Jr. about
Raw moments. Mark Henry's retirement trick was memorable. Was that? Why do I think that was SmackDown? This is why I'd be bad at wrestling trivia. But in any case, that was a really good one too.
Yeah, they didn't show that. They showed him and Mae Young's relationship.
Yeah, of course.
Mark Henry's not ever living that one down.
Or I'm surprised they didn't show the birth of the Hand.
I hear the Hand's wrestling now. We got LA.
It's tag team partners with Al Snow's head.
Yes.
We got LA Knight coming out and
head and hand.
Wow.
Oh, this show's going off the rails. We've got LA Knight calls out a legend, and the American Badass is who he gets. LA Knight continues to talk crap, and then Bray comes out. LA Knight's about to get chokeslammed, but instead he gets a Sister Abigail, and then Taker whispers to Bray, Justin, what did he say?
How oozy are you? I don't know. Yeah, it's a great question. Look, this was, it was fun. It was what it was. I'll say this, I was, like I said earlier, I was at Raw 25 5 years ago, and I was glad we got the Dead Man Taker out there in the Manhattan Center. He was in the main event of the very first Raw at Manhattan Center. But 5 years later, he's retired. He's done the Hall of Fame speech. He does the Dead Man one-man show tours around the world when they do these big premium live events, where essentially he is more Mark Calloway. He is more the man. And anybody who knows Taker and Jimmy knows him, so he can speak the most here. The American Badass was the most accurate depiction of Mark Calloway, the man, while still using Undertaker as the name. So in a way, I'm okay. We've seen a lot of Takers come back, nostalgia shows. So it was a little swerve, the gong, and then hit the Kid Rock, and he's out there at the bike. And it kind of fits because, again, that's the Taker you're getting as he's doing these one-man shows, and he's talking more about his career. So I was fine with it. It was a swerve. It was what it was. It was cool. It was to see him out there, but he still, lets his dark side, meet with Bray Wyatt's dark side. So it's fine. I think I don't overthink it. I think what the segment kind of proved, though, as we preview Royal Rumble, is that, again, LA Knight has a pitch black match that's powered by Mountain Dew against Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt just needs an opponent, so LA Knight is that. But the real conflict in that match is going to be Bray Wyatt and Uncle Howdy and whatever other spirit, because they basically they didn't bury LA Knight, but LA Knight just got hit with a Sister Abigail, and that's that. So don't expect me to put money down that LA Knight's going to be getting any victory this Saturday. That's what I took away from this. Is Taker's was fun, cool moment with he and Bray. This Saturday, it's all about Bray Wyatt's inner struggle.
Yeah, if Mountain Dew is powering it, why is it pitch black? Shouldn't be powered. It's not powering anything. All the lights are off. Anyway, so Jimmy, this segment, I love nostalgia, so I popped twice for the Undertaker because I heard both of his songs. But I was chatting with a pal on text, and I was saying that this episode was all layups, but they all went in. Like, this was just a very simple layup kind of thing to do with Undertaker there, and the point scored. I agree with Justin. I think it was great. What about you?
No, I enjoyed it very much. And when I heard the gong, I said, oh, that's kind of cool that they're going back to the old Taker. Then when the American Badass stuff, and he came out on the bike, I went, okay, this is really cool. And I was curious to see how they were going to interact with, how he was going to interact with LA Knight, and how Bray Wyatt, if he was going to be involved in this segment at all. And of course he was. We saw that he was when, LA Knight did the right thing and bailed out of the ring from the Undertaker, and he ran into the lantern. And like you said, Justin, when he slid back into the ring, he got goozled by the Dead Man, and instead of choke slamming him, he gave him to Bray Wyatt for the Sister Abigail. And then, as you said, he passed by, whispered something, and gave the ring to Bray Wyatt. It almost felt like a passing of the torch, so to speak. Yeah. So, and we'll see what happens on Saturday, like you said, at the Royal Rumble. But that did feel like, you talk about the legends elevating the talent of today. And I think he got a hell of an endorsement from one of the best ever. And Bray Wyatt got that, so to speak.
And there was something cool about the fact that Taker didn't speak one word on the mic.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't need to.
True. No.
He didn't need to. His actions, like Jimmy said, it just the pass of the torch. Here you go. I could hit my finish. You hit your finish. And then privately, the only word spoken nobody could hear. So like a pass of the torch, like he just conveyed some dark side secrets to Bray Wyatt and said, "This is your show now. This is your company. I'm off." There's a lot. We could get really meta into it if we wanted to. There's a lot that I think was fun to take away from this. And,
yes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know for sure, but I was looking at his lips, and I think what Taker said was, if these people want to hear me talk, they can buy a ticket to my show.
You damn well know the next show that I assume maybe he's doing one this week in San Antonio for Rumble. I don't know for sure, but you know, whatever the next one of these shows he's doing, somebody in the audience is going to ask, so he better have an answer ready for what did you say to Bray?
Yes. But Justin, real quick to your point as well, LA Knight's a star. I mean, even him talking down the Undertaker, I was like, you belong right there. Like, you're right there with him.
Yeah, no, and that's kind of cool too. LA Knight, while LA Knight is ultimately going to be the kind of like, he's not the focus this Saturday. He's going to lose the match, and this is again all focused on Bray and Uncle Howdy and what have you. LA Knight, he did not feel like he was being trumped verbally by the presence of these guys. He still was trying to be a smart ass. He was still trying to do his shtick, and that's
succeeding.
Yeah, that's the most you can do in that situation. You know?
Yeah. So speaking about most you can do in a situation, we got Bayley versus Becky in a steel cage match. Damage Control enters the cage right away and goes to work. Match never really starts as Pierce comes out and calls the whole thing off. Justin, I don't like to call people out here, but I think Cody would have finished the match.
Well, I think this was I think this was legit again a live TV thing of if the first hour went long, they felt this is where we got to shorten some things up, and this is how we can do it. Again, they're calling audibles on the fly, trying to just, I think that's what this was. I can get picky about it as we get later. We saw a women's segment later with, Charlotte and Bianca and Sonya, and maybe that went longer than it should. Whatever. I don't know all the details of trying to get through this, but I don't think they advertised this cage match with the intent for this to be what it was. I think this was a product of the situation they were in. So
yeah, probably a situation of, and again, I don't know, I'm just guessing here with you, but maybe a situation of we would rather just kind of cut it and then have them do it right later than have this match as a blow off that ends in 5 minutes.
Well, and it's a cage match. It's a cage. Yeah, exactly. It's a cage match. So you better not to start it at all and try to get some heat on the heels and some sympathy on the babyface versus, okay, everybody, we're going to do a 4-minute cage match. Like, what?
I get that, but at the same time, you go through all this trouble and you advertise this thing for it. You have a special 30th anniversary Raw, and you're advertising a women's steel cage match. There hasn't been one on Raw in 19 years. You do need to, in my opinion, you need to deliver that match. And yes, I get it. They were up against it with segments running long, and they were up against the clock and that sort of thing. But at the same time, this is one of the things you advertise. You got to give it to them, and in my opinion. And yes, things change on the fly, but you could have changed something further down in the show.
Yeah, but Jimmy, I'm going to disagree with you, Jimmy.
Okay.
I'm going to disagree for this reason. This is if my notes are accurate, this is the only match from at this point on the rest of the night. Every match has some segue of a legend or a Hall of Famer. I agree. When I later watched the Sonya, Bianca, Charlotte thing, it was way too long and somewhat of a waste. But it was Rick to get his daughter out there, right?
Right.
So I guess what I'm saying is I agree I understand that, but it's like, let's cut this because we're not we didn't just fly Rick here for the 30th. We're not going to just tell him he's not going out there. We're not going to cut the whole DX thing and all that comes to. So I think it was just a case of, it's kind of like what Jack said. Let's just scrap it and we'll do it better later. Also, it's earlier on the show, so I think the philosophy is, okay, we're not going to have the girls go out there and do 15 minutes in this cage and then hope that we can trim time in the last hour, when obviously, as we saw, they still were butting up against time problems at the end. So it sucks all around. I get it. They advertise this match, all that stuff, but I understand this is a match that has no Legends involvement. Just really trim it. There's
also an argument to be made that why was this a cage match? It almost felt like did it need to be a cage match with these two so soon?
Fair.
Was there a reason for it other than it was a 30th anniversary Raw?
Fair. Yeah. Let's add a gimmick match to heighten the card of that's a very fair point too.
There's a part of me too that, look, if we got the actual match, I would have been happier. But there's also a part of me that feels like I kind of like seeing Becky look more like an underdog and fighting from underneath. I feel like sometimes she's like overpowered as the good guy. You know, it's kind of like when you watch. I don't root for Superman as much as I root for the littler guy that's fighting the bigger guy. You know what I mean? And she's been kind of Superman lately. It was kind of nice to see her take the loss so that she can now overcome it later in some way, I guess.
I see those points, but
that's my little silver lining. I'm trying to find a silver lining here.
I know, I get it, but it's, you know what? It's okay to disagree because everybody, can always see eye to eye. Let's put it that way.
But we get a DX reunion with Kurt Angle. They're doing their thing when out comes Imperium. No one wants to fight Gunther until Rollins comes out, followed by the Street Profits. And then we get a tag team match, Playa, with the good guys getting the win. This segment was just fun. I loved it. What was your thoughts?
That's what it's supposed to be. It was supposed to be fun. And look at the guys you got in the ring. And you never know what you're going to get when you get DX in the ring. And you got Kurt Angle out there with him. You know, obviously he's playing the part of Billy Gunn will be what? kind of sort of thing. But it was. And the thing I liked again, too, is the Legends DX put over Gunther huge.
Mm-hmm.
They put the current talent over huge. They could have made it like they didn't care, but nobody wanted to face him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everybody, Hunter's like, I'm retired, I'm too old. And then, I love Road Dogg coming up and just, I'm fighting this guy.
Butterbean. Called him Butterbean.
He called him Butterbean, which is tremendous. So, and they did a great job of getting Gunther and Imperium and these young guys over.
Yeah, this segment might be the biggest story of the night. First off, Dax Harwood has got a podcast, and Dax kind of revealed about how at Raw 25, how, if you remember, DX and the Bullet Club and all the Too Sweet posse, they all just, everybody hit their finisher on FTR.
Mm-hmm.
And then, according to Dax, gets through the curtain and he doesn't get thank yous from everybody, most notably Road Dogg. So now you fast forward to this segment, and you're like, okay, is Imperium getting ready to get buried by the Nostalgia Act? They did not. Triple effing H stepped up like he was going to go nose to nose with Gunther, like he was getting ready to start the feud for WrestleMania, and then goes, I'm retired. I ain't messing with this guy. And the rest of them all retreated. Shawn Michaels, they all retreat. And they lead way for current stars and Seth Rollins and the Street Profits. This segment is the segment that I want to shout to everybody watching right now. There's a lot of controversy, a lot of news headlines, a lot of whatever going on in the boardroom, a lot of concern about, is Vince going to get back in charge of creative, blah, 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 blah. I can't predict the future. I don't know, but I can tell you again, tonight for Raw 30th anniversary, Vince was not there in person. I can tell you that for a fact, and I can tell you, based upon this segment, this was Triple H's show that he booked. He booked it as such. DX is going to come out there and make people laugh and have some fun, along with Kurt Angle. But I'm going to bring out
and Teddy Long.
And I'm going to bring out Imperium. I'm going to bring out a guy in Gunther who his name was changed by Vince. I'm going to bring this guy out and his group, and I'm going to make them as best as I can without bumping, which means I'm going to back down from them in comic DX performance, but still back down. And we're all going to back down, and we're going to try to find current stars that could step up. And then even still, Gunther did not eat the pin, which of course he should have not, and he did not. He did not.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have any doubts about right now, at least as of tonight or yesterday, according to our time now, this shows you Triple H booked this show, and he booked for the future.
Right. And Styles, yes, booking ain't easy.
Yes. Killer Styles, yes. Killer Styles right here. It's and to the point we made earlier about the poker room, like Teddy Long was a perfect example, and Kurt Angle was a perfect example of a way you get people to come out without taking up a bunch of time, and I just add them in because they added so much to this segment too. Like right. Kurt Angle, I love Kurt. He always looks just so happy to be there. Yeah, every time, like when he was with the Shield, with this time, he looks like he has a grin on his face, like I would have if I got to be with DX for the night. You know, I'd be like, hey, I'm the Billy Gunn of the group. This is cool. And then just super fun. And yeah, everyone looked like $1 million. And Seth Rollins, I think we can all say, is a full-blown good guy at this point. Seth Rollins and the Street Profits sounds like the name of a band from the 70s. That is awesome. But let's move on here. We do get a Ric Flair sighting with he comes out and introduces his daughter Charlotte Flair. She talks about the women's division, and then Bianca Belair comes out, and it looks like they are about to go at it, but then Sonya Deville comes out and Bianca takes care of her. She talks some trash to Alexa Bliss, and then Alexa Bliss says, I don't need Uncle Howdy. You're going to find that out at Royal Rumble. Jimmy, again, this felt a little bit like we're getting some legends out there, but we're also doing some quick work as well, some quick business.
Exactly. And was there a seed planted? Obviously, having Charlotte out there with Bianca Belair and, kind of offhandedly calling each other champ and champ. Is there a thought in the process of maybe we could unify the women's championship as well, kind of like we did with the men's? In one sense, I hope they don't with the women's division, only because they don't have the secondary titles like the men's division does, with like the IC title and the United States Championship, which can, represent each brand. So I hope they do stay separate, but at the same time, you have two women out there that are really, really doing it for representing their championships well. And the fact that Rick put his daughter over huge, saying wanting his daughter to surpass his greatness and the amount of titles he won, that's just, doesn't get better than that. Let's put it that way.
Justin, this was to Jimmy's point. I want your thoughts on this, but also the idea of a unified women's championship. I like it when there's one champion, because this segment to me, actually, I felt it with both of them in there saying I'm the champion. I was like, well, if there's two champions, neither of you are a champion. There's got to be one. But that said, that there should be a secondary title. I don't know where I'm going with this, Justin. What do you think of this shot? This spot. I kind of agree with Jimmy. I kind of like the idea of one champion.
Yeah, no, I'm conflicted. I agree. I like one champion. Having seen Roman hold both these titles for so long, it's kind of like, there is a beauty to this guy that he's just the singular world champion. But like you said, you have the US and IC title, so it's given given an anchor to Raw and SmackDown respectively. The women's division doesn't have that. They've never had secondary titles, so it's tough. I agree. I first off, I know, again, the point was to get Rick out there and what have you, and introduce Charlotte. I think this whole thing could have been shorter because it evolved into multi segments. I would like to see there just be one women's world title, and then just try to have other stories that mean things that don't necessarily have to be revolved around titles, and what is becoming a very deep women's division that they have on the roster. But I don't I don't see them going that route. And again, that might also come back to the state of the company, which is, Raw's on USA, SmackDown's on Fox. You have to be able to deliver to the executives above that, hey, there's a world champion. There is a female world champion on both shows. So at least how things are now, that's what it's going to remain, for better or for worse. Maybe in a year from now or 2 years from now, after a sale happens or a merger happens or what have you, if WWE is all under one umbrella, maybe a different situation where you can get away with one women's world champion and then start to develop secondary titles. But where they're at right now, it's just not going to be.
Yeah. Cody Rhodes has another video, and he says nothing will stop him from winning the Royal Rumble. Justin, with the news that maybe the Brock will not be available for WrestleMania, does that make Cody the #1 odds-on favorite?
I think he's in that conversation no matter what. Because even again, Roman Reigns has a title match separate from the Rumble against Kevin Owens. So even if you think The Rock's still involved, The Rock can maybe appear and be a part of that finish with his match against KO. So I think no matter what, the moment that Cody Rhodes said, I'm coming back for the Rumble, was last week, he's immediately there in the top odds getters of a Rumble winner. So yeah, I mean, he's there. He's in the conversation no matter what. And then 2 world titles, 2 nights of Mania, he's there no matter what.
Jimmy, is Cody Rhodes has to be one of the most favorites to win it. Yeah, I think people would be happy at the same time that we've had in a very long time. Usually fans rebel against the favorite, but I feel like Cody is one of the few favorites that we're like, yes, we want him to win.
Yeah, I think the fans gravitating towards Cody a lot. They're really buying into him. He is drawing them in, and they are on board, especially with this story. A lot of people are very impressed that he went through that match with Seth Rollins and finished it under the circumstances he did. And now his rehab and getting back to where he is. And I know a lot of people complained that he announced that he should have been saved for a surprise, but I'm sure we're going to get some surprises at the Rumble. So don't worry about it. Cody is a big star now, and announcing it ahead of time is a big help. And the videos of him are just amazing. And the little things like the music that they use, "Born for This," I was born for this, and stuff like that. And the little things that he says, like he needs to breathe again. And this is how he breathes. It's just those little things again that matter so much and add so much to his presentation in getting the audience invested in him.
And off that point with Jimmy, I think it's a big deal to have him advertised for Rumble, but I'm a believer that maybe it's a bigger deal that Cody comes back. Maybe he draws #1 or something and he goes crazy distance, but he comes up that short. Maybe it's an even bigger deal that Cody comes back after that gruesome injury, goes almost the distance at Rumble, doesn't win it, and then he has to go through Elimination Chamber. It makes that heroic story that much more, that he has that many more levels and layers to go through. So I mean, he's a heavy odds favorite, but I don't think he's a lock. I still think there's an argument to be made that he comes up short. Whether Sami Zayn, who needs to prove his worth to the Bloodline, gets him out of there or whatever, and a Stone Cold or a Rock or a Brock Lesnar, or somebody else wins, and then Cody goes, okay, well, there's still another title. I'm going to Chamber and I'm fighting. That's what's great about going into the Saturday, is there are so many different avenues creatively that they could go down, and that is huge compared to where we were last year. Compared to where we were last year, where it was so pigeonholed and Brock just showed up and he won it, and it was like, good God, we're doing this again. It's a real refreshing situation.
Could you imagine we get Sammy #1 and Roman says he has to win it, and then Cody #2 comes out, and then we get the final 4: Sammy, Cody, Seth Rollins, and then Stone Cold, assuming The Rock's not involved.
Wow.
And you may, oh my God, I want all of them to win. I don't know, something like that. Just
Guys, our Saturday night is going to be lit. It is going to be a fun Saturday.
The possibilities are there,
Okay.
and the anticipation for it is there. You know, you talk about, looking forward to a Rumble. It's been a long time since I've looked forward to a Rumble match like this in a long time.
Yeah. We got a couple comments here. Mick Cloud saying, "Here, take my money for that fantasy booking. Thank you. Appreciate it." And then Mark Bays with a question about Alexa saying, "All of this work they're putting into Alexa, do you guys think she'll go over at the Rumble?" It's tricky. Yeah. I want to get your guys' thoughts, but it's so tricky because it feels like, at least to me, Ripley Bianca is the big money WrestleMania match. But it does feel like they're doing a lot with Alexa for her to just. Actually, you know what? No, I'm gonna put my bold prediction out here now. Bliss is not gonna win because she has other stuff she can go do. You know what I mean? Like she can lose and be like, "But Uncle Howdy cost me" or something. I don't know. Something like that's gonna happen.
Yeah, there's options there. Again, I don't think Alexa Bliss needs it. I agree with you. I think the money match, so to speak, in that Raw Women's division is Rhea Ripley versus Bianca right now, because Rhea is just, she's a star.
Mm-hmm.
Let's put it that way. And that's the match that should be happening at WrestleMania for the title.
Yeah, I mean, Alexa, her match Rumble is, in my mind, tied into Bray's versus LA Knights. It's whatever the connection for all this is. So I don't see Alexa winning Rumble. To me, this is Rhea Ripley. This is Rhea's Rumble to lose. Mm-hmm. She is just at the peak of her game, and so that's to me, that's her Rumble to lose. Yeah,
she's just beyond. I feel like she's grown beyond. Like, she could do anything, and you're like, she's incredible. We got a quick segment with The Miz. Maddie's not getting Miz TV on the 30th anniversary, even though he kind of technically is because he's out there. Then KO stuns him and just cuts a quick promo. Not really a whole much to this, but Justin, I'll let you go first. Any thoughts on this part?
No, it was a necessity. I mean, look, it's Raw 30. We got to have The Miz featured for a minute. The Miz, I mean, The Miz, Miz has got a Hall of Fame package waiting for him somewhere in the future. So let him be featured. And then, oh my God, the guy who's challenging your tribal chief world champion in 5 days, he should have a moment to shine and have a quick promo. So that's what this was. It was well done. Again, going back to where Jimmy and I were debating earlier, disagreeing about time management and what you cut and what you don't. I said, cut the cage match to what they ended up doing, because again, you had legends involved and all the other stuff, and then you have this. You're not going to say, "Oh, we're not going to give KO his promo." No, you need to. KO has to come out and stun and cut the promo. He's fighting Roman frickin' Reigns in 5 days, so it's just you had to do it, and it was fine. It was the thing to do. Could they have done more with KO? Sure, but they got him on and good.
Yeah, and the one thing I did like about this segment too was they kept it tight, which they needed to do because of the time constraints, it appears. But at the same time, Kevin Owens, when he cut his promo, didn't guarantee a victory. He came out, he said he's going to do his best to beat Roman Reigns for that title, which he, what were the words he said? He said that, he's held the title hostage for over 2 years now, or something along those lines. But he didn't guarantee a win. He just guaranteed that he's going to give it all he has. And that's interesting language. Let's put it that way.
I got to take old KO to task here, though. Roman Reigns isn't keeping it hostage. I mean, he's defended against just about everybody in the WWE. It's not like he's hiding. I mean, he's beaten just about everybody. I don't know. I don't know KO.
But I think the terminology of using it, of saying hostage, starts to unfold the story of Roman's gonna have to defend both nights of Mania. Of you're not just gonna, you are going to defend. You have two straps on your shoulders. Both straps are going to be accounted for at Mania. I think that's the start of this here.
Maybe.
Interesting.
Maybe they're already teasing that with the tag title, so it wouldn't be super shocking. we get to the main event here. Austin Theory versus Bobby Lashley. Two parts of the story here besides the actual match. One is that Lashley turns down help from the Hurt Business before the match. And two, Brock Lesnar shows up and F5s both of them. Theory retains. But fellas, I think we've all been eyeing a Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar rematch. And I think that's what we're going to get. Jimmy, take it away.
No, I think that's definitely what we're going to get. And I will say this, despite the fact that people think that the finish was rushed a little bit, and maybe it was in this match, they still got enough time in to tell a story in this match. And I like the finish. I like the fact that, you know, he F5'd Bobby, but he also F5'd Austin Theory onto Bobby. So it was kind of like, you know, he's not choosing sides here, except for the fact that he wants to see Bobby lose for obvious reasons, that they have an issue right now because Bobby wants to fight Brock Lesnar. So this just adds a little more fuel to the fire. And these are two big guys that can go. Yeah. And now I'm looking forward to a Bobby versus Brock match. And do you put a stipulation on it? Do you put it like a no holds barred, or do you put it in
a fight pit
match? That's what I was thinking with special guest referee Ken Shamrock or something like that.
Ooh.
How come Ken Shamrock's never on these legend shows, by the way? He's a great legend and he's around.
Good question. Wish I had an answer for you.
Ken, why aren't you at these shows?
Yeah.
Ken, I'm sure he's probably like, Triple H doesn't call me. What do you want me to do about it? Yeah. I was a huge Ken Shamrock fan back in the day. Anyways, I digress. Justin LaBar, you know what I was thinking watching this? I remember things you were saying the other week where you were talking about leaving things open so that they can do things as necessary. And I'm thinking this whole Hurt Business thing is because they're waiting to see how the crowd reacts to Brock and trying to figure out what position they want Lashley to be in.
Which is a very fair assessment because, look, Bobby and Brock is not original. It's not new. So you don't necessarily know how the crowd is going to react. Brock gets certain nostalgia, return pops, but then he also gets certain been there, done that, retread, heat. Some of it depends on the city. So, yeah, I mean, maybe keeping the Hurt Business as the audible, if needed, is part of it. Because if you tell me we're gonna have a Brock versus Bobby match, I don't know necessarily where the crowd is gonna vibe, who they are gonna be inclined to cheer for. We've seen them have a match, and then do we try to put them in a more UFC shoot style type of match? I don't know. So I get having Brock come back and what have you. I don't know what the plan is. And I also wonder, tonight's go home Raw 30 also felt like, okay, we're not going to blow all of our surprise load. We want to save things for Rumble. Does that mean that because we got Brock tonight, Brock is not going to show up in the 30-man Rumble? If he doesn't, that's a breath of fresh air because he has been kind of a go-to for the creative in the last couple of years for that. So I'm okay with that. But these are all just questions that we ponder. And again, we'll talk Saturday night. It's going to be a fascinating podcast of where are they sitting at with their options as it relates to Brock and these other, marquee names.
Yeah, I'm excited for that one. I'm so excited for the Rumble. I say it every year, but this is like one of the most excited I've been for the Royal Rumble in such a long time. And
yeah, I mean the fact that it's Jack, the fact that it's the fact that this is the first Rumble, and in 30 years that, in theory, as best as we know, is not going to be booked by Vince.
Right.
I mean that's intriguing.
Yeah,
that is intriguing. That any which way around, that is intriguing.
It is.
And there's so many things set up so well. This is going to be such a fun. I can't wait for Saturday just so I can finally start saying it's Mania season. It's road to WrestleMania. We're on.
You've been saying it's Mania season since Survivor Series.
Yeah, it's sign pointing season.
I'm halfway down the road, guys. You got to catch up to me.
What if there's no sign? What if they don't point to the sign?
Oh, how could you not have the sign? You got to point.
No,
to the sign.
maybe they have the sign. What if they don't point to the sign?
Ah, that's a good point.
It's a new. It's
a
new
good
era.
point that you don't point to the sign.
Right.
Wow.
Never mind.
So excited. Well, we've run long. I know it's late where you guys are at. Final thoughts. I love this episode. It was fun. I enjoyed it. You know what? I'm sure there's things with timing and stuff we could get into, but overall, I felt joy while I was watching it. So I give it a good rating. What do you guys think? And let's go ahead and answer Bigfoot Sneakerhead question. Do you think Jay White will show up at the Royal Rumble? Justin, overall thoughts on the show, and what about Jay White at the Royal Rumble?
Show's exciting. If you compare it to your week-to-week Mondays, obviously it blows most of your Mondays out the water because you have all the names you have. Compared to your other nostalgia shows, you can start to debate, but I think it was fun. I think I think it was fun. Jay White, he might end up in NXT or WWE inevitably sometime soon. I 3, 2, 1. I just don't know if you're relying on enough people to know certain other people like a Jay White. That doesn't mean that he's not. I'm not saying he's not worthy. I'm just saying 3, 2, 1. Is his name on the Tron? Is his name on the screen and his music going to evoke the reaction you want? And I tend to say no, it's not.
And to put that in perspective, I mean, Shinsuke Nakamura went through NXT. Samoa Joe went through NXT. Finn Balor went through NXT. So that's not a shot at Jay White. I mean, that's a pretty common thing. I think the only one who ever really skipped it was AJ Styles. But even he had pretty good following from his time in Impact.
Right.
AJ Styles was a bigger deal when he showed up at WWE than Jay White is.
Right.
Which is not slander to Jay White. AJ Styles is a big deal. So, but what about you, Jimmy? What are the odds we see Jay White at the Royal Rumble, and what did you think of the show?
Yeah, I'm kind of with Justin on this one. I don't see him showing up at the Rumble because I don't think he gets the reaction from the main crowd. There's going to be that certain core audience that'll go, ooh. But, overall, it'll be like, who? And again, not a shot at Jay White in particular, just, the audience that they play to, the WWE, that is. And as far as the show tonight, it was enjoyable. Like I said, it furthered my interest in the Royal Rumble, which was a goal. Did I expect more from the Legends standpoint, and getting to see a little bit more interaction with them? We got to see some great interaction where Legends elevated other talent, current talent. But, I think a little bit more than just having the rest of them in the poker room would have been better. That's all.
The infamous poker room. Well, thank you guys for chatting about this. Thank you to everyone in the chat. Daniel Price, Jeroy J, Tommy O, Ricky Zaldivar, Azel Pompous, Bernie DC, Killer Styles. We got Bigfoot Sneakerhead. Great name, by the way. Adam Staples and Dustin EK and Chris Aldridge and everyone else. Thank you guys so much for hanging out in the chat. Please hit the like button, comment, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts. Put it out there. Let us see your thoughts. As you know, I like to shout you out, so it's an easy way to get shouted out on the show for free. So do it that way.
And people need to watch. Jack, your hair is on point tonight, man. I'm a little jealous, man.
I saw Austin Theory's hair, and I was like, I'm going to try to get like that. Now, I'm the now.
Okay. Rub it in, guys. Rub it in.
A little jealous.
Well, Justin, speaking of seeing people, where can the world see you online and all the stuff you're working on?
I'm here on Wrestling Inc. Monday nights. I'll be back Wednesday with Jimmy and Issa after AEW. But again, I'm so looking forward to Friday with Busted Open Radio, and then Saturday with you two after Rumble. It's going to be a great week. So at Justin LaBar on Twitter, best place to find me. I'll have all the schedule and all the links to everywhere I'm at. Friday Spark LaBar, Saturday post Rumble with you guys. It's gonna be a fun week.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely looking forward to that. Jimmy, how about yourself? Where can the world find all the stuff you're working on?
Like Justin, best place you can find me is on Twitter at Jimmy Korderas, where you find me here on Monday nights with you guys, Wednesday nights with Justin and Issa. And I am also looking forward to this Saturday's Royal Rumble post show with you guys. It should be a lot of fun. And you can catch me on my social media platforms doing my riff and rants from Monday to Friday, just giving my little tidbits of maybe critique. Sometimes I put stuff over too. It's not always a negative. It's not always a negative.
Sometimes there's nice things on there.
Yeah.
But always good to follow you guys.
Sorry. And one last thing, I forgot that my good brother in stripes, Brian Hebner, I have joined him now on the Reffing It Up podcast, and we do a lot of chatting there too as well.
It's a good listen.
I support a fellow Washington Commanders fan.
I recommend everyone check that out. Check out at Wrestling Inc. as well. All the after shows, all the news, it's all there. You can find me at Real Jack Farmer across all social media and all the stuff I'm working on. That's always the easiest way to do it. Just hit me up on at Real Jack Farmer. That does it. That does it for us. That does it until Saturday, where we have the Royal Rumble. It's going to be incredible, folks. We're